Hello?
Am I talking to Dharmendra?
Yes.
Dharmendra, I'm Jamal from Cognizant.
Okay.
This is regarding a telephonic interview.
Okay.
So, Dharmendra, what is your total years of experience?
Around 4.2.
4.2.
Yes.
Okay. So, is it all relevant to Java J2E?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, have you worked in Spring Framework?
Yes.
So, how many months and years?
In a spring, around I can say 2 years, 8 months around.
Okay. So, is it including Spring MVC?
Yeah, including a Spring MVC also.
Okay. So, have you worked with Spring Hibernate Framework?
Yes.
So, how many months and years?
In Hibernate, more than 3 years.
Okay. So, you are familiar with the Restful Web Services, right?
Yes. Sir.
So how many months and years experience you have in RESTful web service?
Around 2.5 years.
Okay, great. Are you familiar with some tools like PMD, Sonar, Finebugs?
No. This tool I didn't use.
Okay. So any tool for analyzing the source code?
Like testing tool we have used, that is JUnit.
Okay, you have used JUnit.
Yeah, JUnit we have used.
Have you used any mocking frameworks in JUnit?
Mocking framework.
JMock, PowerMock, EasyMock.
No. Simple JUnit 4 we have used, annotation based.
Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So now, can we get into some technical questions?
Yes.
Okay. So, have you used JPA?
JPA we have not used.
You have not used.
Hibernate we have used. But I have idea about JPA. Almost both are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Here, entity manager is there we have to use session factory. Almost both are similar. I have idea.
Okay. So you have used RESTful Web Services.
Yes.
So what is advantage of RESTful Web Services over SOAP Web Services?
In the case of SOAP Web Services, 1 minute. I'll go some other place. Here more talking.
Fine. Yep.
1 minute. Okay. One minute.
Fine.
Yeah. See, in the case of SOAP-based web services, you have to use some IDE. Without using any IDE help, we cannot develop SOAP-based web services. There they have given two options, bottom-up and top-down approach. That is also called as context-first, like this approach. And in the case of SOAP-based web services, we have to use WSDL file. WSDL file that contains complete information of your resources, and SOAP envelope will be there. So it is, you can say, very heavyweight if you compare with RESTful web services. In the case of RESTful web services, it is very lightweight, and it is simple HTTP, like everything, like simple servlet you can consider. Everything is considered as resource. Anything if you want to expose or if you want to consume, everything is like resource. You have to write one class. There at the rate path annotation you have to use. In that you have to specify what type of, like what is the URL pattern. So that's some logical name we have to provide. So very easy to access that and very easy to develop. In the case of SOAP-based web services, we can develop RESTful web services without using any IDE also. No framework required. So it is simple to use and it is very lightweight. Everything here considered as resource. And in SOAP-based web services, communication will happen in the form of XML only. But in RESTful web services, we have many options. They have given what type of media MIME type you want to return. You want to return XML or JSON, or you want to return simple XML or HTML or plain text. So many options are there with RESTful web services. That is not there with SOAP-based.
Okay. So security-wise, which one do you think it is more secure?
security wise, on security, on security constraints, I didn't work.
Okay.
So
But
I think SOAP-based will be more secured, because here also in REST also they have given some API, some components are there, like FTSL is there and some more are there to manage the security. Here directly resource, like simple, if you want to test your RESTful web service application, then we can directly post the URL and we can test that. But it is not possible in the case of SOAP-based web services. There you have to long back I used SOAP-based, but in here you can test URL directly. You can get the response by knowing the complete address, your host as well as URL pattern. You can access that. So I think security wise, SOAP is good, but in REST also they have given security related information.
Okay. So what kind of design patterns have you used so far?
If you GOF design pattern, I use singleton, factory design pattern. In J2EE, I use MVC design pattern, and I can say front controller design pattern, DAO design pattern, and intercepting filters. So these are the design patterns we have used.
Okay. So what is the advantage of this design pattern? Why should I use some design pattern?
See, why we have to use design pattern. If you take simple example of MVC design pattern. So if I'm not using MVC design pattern, then model 1 architecture we will use. In model 1 architecture, in one servlet class, you are writing all the three information. You are writing database related code, you are writing presentation related code, and you are writing controller related code. By using MVC design pattern, these three tasks we have separated on 3 layers. So we can say why we are using design pattern: to improve the code and to reduce the maintenance cost. See, whatever application we are developing, SDLC phase is there for that. In that, most of the time, like requirements gathering, designing, coding, testing, implementation, and maintenance. So maintenance cost or maintenance duration will be when you are starting development of the project to the end of project, maintenance will be there. So we have to develop the application in such a way that your application components should be loosely coupled. So if you modify one component of your application, it should not affect other components. If you add in future, if you want to add some new feature, then it is easy to attach, it should be easy to detachable. So just to improve the programming or to develop the application easily, in future maintenance should be easy, we have to go for design pattern. So we can say design pattern provides the solution for a specific type of problem in a specified context.
Okay. So in Spring Framework, I have dependency injection.
Okay.
Okay, so there are two types, basically some constructor-based injection and setter-based injection.
Okay.
So what is the difference between these two types?
Okay, constructor injection and setter injection. See,
right.
For setter injection, we have to use property tag, or we have to write setter method. Suppose inside the class hello, I have defined two variables, variable A and variable B. Now I want to initialize the variable A, or I want to initialize the variable B. So if you want setter injection, then for variable A, we have to write set a method, and in configuration file, we have to write bean id equal to something h, class equal to hello with package name, and we have to use property tag. Under property tag, name, that variable A name, and value we have to use. If you want a constructor injection, then you must have constructor in your class, required constructor, and there we have to use constructor arg and value equal to something. So this is the main difference. Constructor injection means we are injecting the dependency through constructor.
No. So what I'm asking is, I'm not asking the syntax difference. Okay. What you're saying is syntax-wise, these are the difference.
Okay.
So what I'm asking is, internally, what is the difference? Like in both the ways, I will be able to inject. Okay, using both the ways, I am able to inject a value. Then what is the difference between these two? Why should I use constructor or why should I use setter? See, assuming that I'm going to write a class. Okay, so in that class, should I use a constructor to inject or should I write a setter to inject? Because based on that only you are going to configure your XML. So
yes.
while writing the class, should I use a constructor to inject or should I use a setter to inject?
Generally, whatever Spring nowadays we are using, we are not using either constructor or setter. Almost we are going for auto wiring process. But as far as your question concerns, I think we have to prefer setter injections.
See, preference is difference. Okay, preference is something, I prefer something, you prefer something. But what is the best way? For that, I should know what is the difference.
Okay. Means in which scenario we have to use for?
Right. So if you have two options to go home from office. Okay, so you might say, okay, this is easy because it is less congested and it doesn't have much traffic. This is difficult. Okay, the road is not good. So you have two opinions on this road and that road. But both way you can reach office from home or home to office.
Yes.
So we should know the difference between these two.
So,
okay,
as I understand, in the case of setter injection, see, almost in all the classes, whatever bean classes we are writing, we are including the setter, all the getter setter method. But we have to prefer setter injection because setter will be present always in the class. If you are going for constructor injection, then you must have to place that constructor, matching constructor inside that class. There is some again you have by type is there, by name in auto wiring process, by type is there, by name is there. So there some conflicts will come. Sometimes you have dependency but matching constructor is not there, or multiple constructor is there. So that time it may give some conflict problem.
Okay, fine. So in Hibernate framework, explain me about the caching mechanism.
Caching mechanism. See, first, what is cache? Cache is the representation of database near to your application. Now, we have one application, like suppose Flipkart.com. Now, Flipkart.com has to display the set of mobiles available in the database. Now, for every user, for every request, if I am going to the database, collecting all the mobiles and showing to the user, so it will increase the network traffic and it will impact the application performance. In place of that, what we can do, at application startup only or at first request only, all the mobile phones related information we can store into the cache memory, and from there we can serve the user request. So it will improve the application performance and it will decrease the round trip between your application and network. Now, in context of Hibernate, there are two types of cache. First is first level cache, second is second level cache. First level cache is also called as session cache. How many session objects we are creating? For each session, it is maintaining one special memory area called as session cache. Now, whenever you perform any select operation first time, so it will hit the database, it will access the record, and that it will store into the session memory, session cache. And next time, same record if you are accessing with the same identifier, then it will not go to database, it will not hit the database, it will access from the cache memory. Like in the case of insert operation, whenever you are performing insert, later you are updating the data. So suppose first we have written insert, next we have written update on the same insert. So it will not insert the data directly in database. What it will do, Hibernate will identify intelligently that same data you are updating. So last update will be triggered to the database. So this is first level cache. Now first level cache limitation is once you close the session, then that cache will be destroyed. You cannot access. Like select a statement I use, select a star from employee. So employee related record is stored in the first level cache. Now what happens? I am closing the session. Again, if I am writing select a star from employee, then again it will hit the database. So suppose if you want to manage some global session, so you can go for second level cache. So by default, by default, 1 minute, I'll take water.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. So by default, first level cache is enabled, and as a Java developer, we are not going to write any single line of code to enable or disable the first level cache or session cache, and we can't disable also. This is the free services provided by the Hibernate, we can say. Second level cache means you have to enable that. For that, in your Hibernate configuration class, Hibernate configuration document, you have to write hibernate.use_second level cache provider class. You have to write. So many providers are there. cache is there, OS cache is there, warm cache is there, JBoss related cache is there. So if you are using second level cache, then suppose you are writing select star from imply, where imply ID equal to some 101. So what it will do, it will take the data from the database, it will store into the second level. You can say it is global session, and it will store into the local session also. So if you close your local session, if you close your session object also, next time if you are starting your session, then first it will access the data from the global session, that is the second level cache. If it is available, it will store into the local session, then it will access the record. If it is not there in global session also, it will hit the database, it will access the record, it will store into global session, then it will store into local session, then it will serve you. So this is some information about the cache.
Okay, when does the cache expire? Is there any time period or something to expire the cache?
I think first level cache will be expired whenever you are closing the session. For second level cache, I think in configuration, I think we can specify what will be the duration of cache, what will be the location where you want to store that cache related data. So some configuration is there in Hibernate configuration file.
Fine. So now, what is the advantage of ORM framework rather than using a plain JDBC connection?
Yeah. See, ORM means Object Relational Mapping. In the case of JDBC, if you want to store the data into database, then suppose I have employee table that contains employee ID, employee name, employee phone number, employee city. So corresponding table you have to create into that database, and you are responsible to map each column of your or each field of your class to the particular column of the table. You are responsible. You have to manage the data types also. Okay, and if you consider JDBC, then to interact with the database, you have to create connections. 7 steps are there. You have to load the driver class. You have to establish the connection. You have to create the JDBC statement. You have to create the SQL statement. You have to submit the record. You have to process the result, and you have to close that resources. However, if you take the example of JDBC, then if you have complex join query, you have to write that. There is no caching mechanism in the case of JDBC. But when you talk about the Hibernate, in Hibernate, you are responsible to write the class. So in the case of JDBC, we are saving record into the table. Means you are mapping what we are mapping field of the class with the column of a table. But in the case of Hibernate, it is ORM, Object Relational Mapping. Means you are mapping your object to the database directly. It has many facilities. You have different type of mapping. You have different type of primary key generation algorithm. You have different type of caching mechanism. So these are the facilities. Performing operation with Hibernate, it is easy. Like Hibernate is not a new term. It is also developed on the top of JDBC. Directly we are using JDBC only. Hibernate runtime system will use the JDBC. So JDBC is a technology, Hibernate is a framework. So development of the application will be faster. You are not responsible to establish that. You are not responsible to load the driver class. Very simple configuration you have to write. Simple methods they have given, we can use, and we can perform the task.
What do you mean by dialect?
See, dialect means from the Hibernate, you may interact with the Oracle, you may interact with the MySQL. Okay. Now, there are some queries, there are some database queries which is not same among all the database vendors. For example, you take example of a full outer join. full outer join. In the case of Oracle, you have different query that is not supported by the MySQL. If you take the view, if you want to alter the view, in Oracle you have different syntax, in MySQL you have different syntax. If you consider foreign key, if you want to establish the foreign key, Oracle you have different syntax, MySQL you have different syntax. So there are some database query which is not same among multiple database vendors. So if you are using dialect, so dialect is the class provided in org.hibernate.dialect package. What it will do, based on the database you want to use, it will generate the query that is supported by the particular database vendor.
Okay. See, Dharmendra, your answers are really very much elaborate. Okay.
Come again?
Your answers are really very much elaborate, which is okay. You are giving a correct answer.
Okay.
Okay, but due to time, because I need to cover all the topics, right?
Okay. Now you tell how you want that. In that way, I'll give.
Okay, now.
So you can stop
no
me. Generally, when I'm starting answers, you are not telling anything. So how I'll come to know that whether I should stop?
No. That's fine. That's fine completely. So okay. So now let's move on to Java.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you mean by immutable class?
Immutable class. Now I'll give short answer. Correct? Point to point. See, immutable class means once you create the object of your class, then there should not be any chance to modify the object data. Object state, we should not modify. There is no chance. Like string is the example of immutable class.
Okay. String is an example. Give me some other examples.
Like Java. All the wrapper classes are example of immutable class.
Okay. So now I have a class called employee.
Okay.
Which has two properties, first name and last name.
Okay.
So now this class I want to convert into an immutable class.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Yes, very simple. First declare class as final, so that from the subclass we should not modify that. Second, declare that the first name and last name variable as private and final. Okay. To initialize, first time you write the constructor, write only getter method, don't write the setter method. Then your employee class will be immutable.
Cool. So why should I have this class as an immutable class? What is the purpose?
See, purpose of immutable class.
I agree what you said in the first time. Like we are not able to modify it. Okay, I agree that. But how it is going to be useful? Like how it is going to be useful for the end user?
So I'll take the example of a string class. Okay. A string class is immutable. What benefit we are getting? Okay. Suppose I am writing a string str equal to Java. Okay. I am creating the string object without using new operator. So what it will do? First, it will take the Java string. It will check in the string constant pool, there or not there. It will place the Java string in the string constant pool, and their reference will be stored in the str variable. Now next time, whenever you are creating a string object without using new operator, and if the data is Java only, it is going to point the same Java object. Okay, means thousands of string variable, or you can say in your application, anywhere if you are creating a string str without using new operator whose contents in Java, all the reference variable, whether it is in same package, different package, all will point to the same object. So reusability of the object. Now why it is immutable? If you modify that, what will happen? Previous whatever reference is there, it will access the modified data. So that is why there is stopping. You should not modify that. If you try to modify, it will create the new object. So if you want to reuse the same object data among multiple components, we can go for immutable.
Got it. So now, what is the purpose of hashcode and equals method?
See. Hashcode. Whenever you create the object, some integer value will be generated for that object to identify whether it is unique or not. So that is hashcode. Equals method means what? Equals method, when you compare two objects. Suppose if you are using equal to operator to compare two objects, it will compare the reference of object. Suppose employee class you have written employee emp1, emp2. Data is same, employee ID is 99 and name is some DK. So it will compare. If you compare using equal to operator, primitive is there, it will compare value. But if you compare reference, it will compare the object, address of the object. But if you see the example of a string class, all the wrapper classes, all the collection classes, when you compare the to a string reference variable by using equal to operator, it will compare address. But if you are using equals method, it will compare the content. So equals method, whenever you are writing the class, and that class object you want to store into the collection object like array list, linked list, or wherever, then you must override equals method and hashcode method in your class to maintain the uniqueness of the object. Like I'll take the example of set. In the case of set, whenever you add the data, in set duplicates are not allowed. So how it will identify whether it is duplicate or not? So what it will do, whenever you add, I have to stop.
Equals method is enough for finding the duplicate. So what is the purpose of hashcode?
Equals method is sometimes what will happen, multiple object hashcode will be same. Or you take example of a string buffer. A string buffer does not override equals method. So there what we will do? So first what will happen, when you add the data into the set, what it will do? First it will check whether hashcode is same or not. Hashcode is same, it will go for the equals method. So at two place they are checking. First they are identifying using hashcode. Hashcode is same, means object are hashcode is same. There is a chance that object are same or not same. Then it will go for the equals method.
Okay. And have you used the concurrent hash map?
Yeah, concurrent hash map I didn't use till now, but I have idea because it is very useful class. So shall I tell something about this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, see.
Go ahead.
Concurrent hash map you ask. Now I have giving answer in always elaborate, so I'll try to sort it. You take example of hash map, simple hash map. Simple hash map is, it is not thread safe. Multiple thread object can access that hash map object. Okay. So I want to synchronize this hash map object. So what we have to use, from the collections class, they have given synchronized map method to synchronize that hash map object. But when you are synchronizing through collections.synchronize method, then what will happen? Entire object will be locked. When one thread is using hash map object to do the sum operation, other thread will not be allowed to do that. So in the case of concurrency, like synchronization is not good. It is much expensive, So concurrent hash map, what they did in concurrent package, whatever concurrency related classes they have given, just to improve the concurrency. Now what they did in the case of concurrent hash map, they are using some blocking, means multiple blocks. Your concurrent hash map object, there by default it is divided into 16 blocks. And whenever you perform the operation, then particular block only it will perform the lock. It is like you can say synchronized block. Synchronized method means entire method synchronized. Synchronized block means some part, only critical section of the method will be synchronized. So concurrent hash map improves the concurrency of the hash map.
Okay, great. Okay, fine, Dharmendra. Okay, so Dharmendra, I'm done. Do you have any questions?